This morning, I'm going to be very, 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 everybody say very, very. I'm going to be very, very pastoral. Y'all thought I was going to say brief, but I just said pastoral. I'm going to be very pastoral. I want to use the moment that we're in because we really are a body of people that are in a sense of mourning, in a sense of grief. I know we have family here this morning. I'm so thankful that you're here, and I know they're going to be going home in the next couple of days, and the grandkids are going back to school and all the things that's got to happen. But I'm just going to use this, if you guys will just let me for a few moments. Tom wasn't just the average person around here. Tom was a pillar of this church, and he was a strength to many of us. And I know that Miss Vicky's going to feel absolutely lost. I really don't know that because I've never experienced. I hope I don't have to anytime soon. But I know that from touching and dealing with others that have walked where she is. She feels lost. She's going to grieve different than most of us in this room. Some of you in this room have just gotten acquainted with Tom Keller. You've just over the last maybe few months, maybe last year, you didn't know him like many of us have known him, like the Kaufman family for years and years. One of his best buddies, if maybe not his best buddy, sitting over here. And Charlie's going to feel absolutely lost, and he's grieving. Some of our life group family, you guys are family together from the afternoon around here. You know, there's a group of people, don't mean it to be, well, we do mean it to be this way because we're family. There's always a group running off to lunch somewhere. It's not a group that nobody can't get involved in. You just got to find out where they're going to go eat and say, I'm showing up. But there was always a group that goes to lunch. I don't care if we're doing first Sunday evening. After that, hey, we're going to go somewhere to eat. I don't know why. We love to eat. I mean, that's why, I guess that's why they fixed so much food last night. We love to eat. There's something special about the body of Christ, about brothers and sisters sitting down together having a meal. But that's what we do. I don't care if it was Wednesday night service. I don't care if it's the men's group on Thursday morning that meet at Huddle House. Any of you is welcome. That you got time, you want to come in there. I mean, we showed up. That table it's not going to be the same. So we're all in this place of grieving. And I want to say to you, even as a church, it's okay. It's all right for us to feel pain. It's all right for us to feel loss. I believe one of the reasons why we feel that way is because of this incredible thing called love. Bible says one of the first definitions of the word love that Paul gives us in 1 Corinthians. I know it means a little bit different than what I'm going to say it, but it says it like this. Love suffers long. That's the version that we would read. And there's a pain to it. There's an enduring to loving somebody. There's something that happens when you begin to love somebody, give your emotions to them. I don't know about you, but yesterday was a very long day. I was here and stayed through most of the day, left for just a few moments, but more than physically worn out. I want to be honest with you. I'm ready for the beach today. If I had a jet, I'd be heading that way. Because we're wore out. We were emotionally strained and stressed. But just because we had the memorial service yesterday doesn't mean that the grieving process ends. Because I want you to hear something. It's a process. It's something that happens. And so I want to share with you just a few moments because I believe this is the title of my message today, Called to Comfort. Called to comfort. And every one of us in this room are called to comfort when people are mourning and when they're grieving. Let me define what grieving and mourning is, just so that we'll all know. Customs and cultures do it differently. If you would go to the Middle East, maybe you've watched it on TV. You've seen in the Middle East among, in Israel and Palestine in the battle, that everything that was shown, and you saw the people that were grieving, they were wailing, they were screaming. And if you notice, even some of them would rip their clothes. No matter how costly they would rip their clothes. Some would even find themselves, it would be called putting themselves in sackcloth and ashes. It was a demonstration of their mourning. It's just a part of the mourning that goes on. And every one of us have some measure of it. Our culture, sometimes even we as individuals, we mourn differently. But grieving just simply means this. It's a feeling of being very sad because we have lost someone. Very simple. I have lost someone, and my emotions, my feelings are broken. My feelings are bent. You know, sometimes we as people of faith, especially charismatic word of faith people, that we're supposed to be strong. And maybe some of you have heard something like this, or maybe you growed up like this. You got to be strong, honey. You just got to be strong. Well, that's true, but that's not maybe needful. Because we need to understand what grieving can do. There's a moment, Pastor Val used the words out of Ecclesiastes yesterday, as from the words of Solomon as he looked in through all of his wisdom. And I believe this, I've read that, used it, and I'm going to look at it like this. Hey, in this life, you're going to have some difficult time. There's a time to be born, and there's going to be a time to die. He said there's going to be a time to dance, and there's going to be a time to cry. There's going to be a time for this and a time for that. And then he said, as I looked upon the sons of men under the sun, it's all vanity. And basically this is what he was saying. Without Jesus, we could not and will not make it if we're not looking to God to be the source and the comfort and the strength of our lives. So now let me quickly get, because I want it to be very, very short too. So here we go. Matthew chapter 5. You've heard these passages. Jesus has just come on the scene. He's called his disciples. He takes them to a high mountain. And in Matthew chapter 5, verse 1, it says, and seeing the multitudes, he went up on a mountain, and when he was seated, his disciples came to him. And he opened his mouth, and he taught them, saying, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they that do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now, most of the time, and every time I've been taught this till this moment, we've read that, and I believe we've looked at it kind of wrong. I'm just going to be honest. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Let me just bring it in the light of what God has said to me here. We've looked at it and said, oh, this is the posture that I'm supposed to be in. I'm supposed to be in a broken spirit. Well, we know David said that back there. I'm supposed to be in a place of mourning. I'm supposed to be in a place of meekness. I believe this is what he's saying. He's saying, I know where you are. I know your spirit is broken. I know you're in a place that you need comfort. I know that you have tried to stand in difficult times. I know that you've been hungry and you're in want. I know that you've been merciful and you didn't want to. I know you tried to be a peacemaker and it didn't seem to be working. And I know you've been persecuted for my name's sake. Keep in mind something. Let me push that level. I want you to see something. It's been 400 years between Old Testament and New Testament. There's been no open vision, no open revelation in a sense for Israel. Israel is God's chosen people. Israel is a people, as Pastor was talking about that covenant a while ago. That was the very same covenant that he was making with them. He was making with us, but even greater and stronger. And they were under covenant, but look at what he was saying to them. They're in mourning. They're hungry. They're struggling. They're in confusion. There's all kinds of things going on with them. And it doesn't look like, wait a minute, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. And God come. And Jesus came from heaven to earth. And the first thing that he begins to deal with, I know where you are, and I like the verse, and I'm just going to use the second part of that. He said, blessed are those who mourn. I know you're mourning. I know you're hurting, but I also know how to comfort you. I want us to understand as a body this morning, and as a church family, it is the will of God for us to be comforted. Now, what does it mean to comfort? So we better look at that word. So the word comfort just simply means this. It means when someone comes along to love you and open up their arms and bring some assurance to you and let you know everything is going to be okay. Did you ever notice that when Jesus introduced Holy Spirit coming, that he said, I got to go, that the Comforter may come to you. I got to go. It's expedient for me to go so that the Comforter can come. What is the Comforter? The one called alongside of us. The one that is going to help us in our time of need. The one that's going to put his arms around. I thought that was kind of interesting. He starts out with disciples talking about comfort. He's getting ready to exit. They're already broken. Hey, we don't want you to go. But he said, I'm going to send a Comforter. I'm going to send one to come stand beside you, one that will love you, that will take you in their arms. They will hug you, they will weep with you, and they will assure you everything is going to be okay. It's the plan and the will of God for us to be comforted. We go back and remember Israel has been in this place of promise, but it doesn't look like it. I might as well give you a number of reasons why I believe, listen, people need comfort. I got 3 reasons, I believe, maybe to help you. And I believe it's probably visible in this whole room if we would be honest. He used this. He said, blessed are those who are mourning. I believe we need comfort at the loss of loved ones in a time of death. It's kind of difficult, kind of hard to imagine that, but we all do. I mean, we wasn't planning on this past week or this past month. We were thinking about fishing. We were thinking about other things. Tom was thinking about Florida again. There was a number of things that were nobody expected this. This was the furthest thing from Miss Vicky's mind. But how many of you know, whether you want it or not, it shows up? I don't know how many people I talked to yesterday said before I got here, before they could come into the memorial service yesterday evening, said I had to go to the memorial service of a family member here. Brother LaDon back there done the memorial service of a young man that had taken his life. Now a family's broken. Wait a minute, what's happening? See, sometimes we find ourselves at the loss of life. Nobody expects it. I don't want to bring a pain up for my family, but just a couple of months ago, Jordan, my son-in-law, his sister was pregnant with their child, and halfway through that, I believe, somewhere thereabouts, she lost that child. When they were getting ready to rejoice, I can't imagine what that family went through. My heart was broken when they told us about that, because I couldn't imagine now as we've got Sadie and we've got little Judah. I can't imagine what that family, wait a minute, they had the nursery ready. Everything was getting set for this beautiful child. But I've got news for you. It comes whether we want it to or not. So we suffer, we mourn. There's times when we lose somebody. We've got to be comforted in those moments. Let me tell you, we don't ever think about this. We grieve and we mourn at the loss of friends. And when I say that, I'm not talking about them dying and transitioning to heaven. I'm talking about when all of a sudden we just lose a good friend. Maybe they get moved off somewhere. Maybe they decide, even as a church, as a pastor, I'm telling you, I've done this for 40 years. I don't care what the circumstance. I hate it when people leave. I got pastors in here, Kim, you know what I'm talking about. You pour into these people, you love them, you stand with them, man, we go, we eat, we do all of this stuff together, and sometimes I got to go do something else. Sometimes it's legit. They get moved off, they go to serve and help somebody else. Sometimes we've sent them off, but there's been many times people just left us. And as a pastor, I want to tell you, it hurts. It puts us in a place that, believe it or not, we get up here, put a smile on our face. Come on, everybody, let's go, let's raw. And yet we are broken as pastors, and some of you even as friends, we don't understand those things when good people get shifted away from us for whatever reason. It hurts. It's a loss. It's a loss. As a pastor over these years, I've made many good ministry friends, me and Diane. Over the years, we've had so many. And then out of the clear blue, it's like, where did they go? We don't ever hear from them. We were chatting every day or every other day, maybe at least once a week, and all of a sudden, they're not there. Some of you, you don't have to be a ministry friend, just somebody, you've got relationships that you've been in like that, and you think, what did we do? Believe it or not, that stuff still, it hurts us. It really does. I believe that's where people are mourning. Let me give you another reason. I believe people mourn. And we're in a world that is incredibly troubled. I think everybody would agree with that. And people are hurting. Everywhere I turn. At an all-time rate and high is our mental health issues. I know I've hit that quite a bit in the last few months, but it's ridiculously high. And what is happening? I was in my Citizens Academy the other day. I didn't even know this was going on. In our county, they're building another jail. It's gonna be about 3 times the size of the one that presently is functioning. It is absolutely full and overflowing. But as they were sharing with us what's going to be going on in that jail, and that's horrendous enough to even think about that our jails are full. People are troubled. But one of the pods that will be put in this new jail system is just going to be for mental health issues, people that are struggling. And I'm telling you, that's not just about an individual, that's about family. That's about people that are hurting. People are hurting all around us. We're watching everything on our news as we see in our nation here what is happening in this battle between Israel and Palestine. I guess you could say it like that. It's really a battle of good versus evil. It's God versus the devil, or the devil trying to verse God. And we're seeing all this. We've been telling you we're going to see the best of things and the worst of things all at the same time. And it's troubling to watch. Many of us are fearful. Many people are fearful. So we got people hurting everywhere. But here's the reason why. I said a lot to get to this. We grieve and we hurt because we don't have what we need. We don't have the things that we need. I've searched, I've done everything I could, and I don't have. Here's another part of that, with that same part, is simply this. Man, this is a big one. I've lived my whole life with a promise, and I haven't seen it come to pass. A promise or a dream that hasn't happened. And I live with that, and I struggle with that. Just a couple years ago, if even that, I was in a church to go visit a church, just to stop by, meet the pastor, visit with some things. And I walked in as they were showing me their new auditorium. And as I walked through it, and they're so proud, and which they had every right to be. They were so proud. They were so excited, and I'm oohing, and I'm just, I'm just cheering them on, saying, oh, this is so wonderful. But I got to be honest, Miss Judy, I was heartbroken. Because I looked at it, and with tears in my eyes, I said, this is what I've dreamed of. This is what we as a body some 15 years ago stepped out. That's why maybe some of you pulling up and you're wondering, what's that big parking lot doing way over there? And there's nothing around it, because there was a facility, a building. There was an auditorium that was supposed to seat 1,500 people that looked just like the one I walked into. And I'm thinking, God, why do they have it? They're a church that just come on the scene. They're exploding. We've done everything that we knew in my dream. Isn't there? Believe me, that stuff hurts and you grieve and you don't even realize it. Even recently, we met another pastor, new friend. He invited us to come up, and we went to their place, and he said, I want to take you, and I just want to show you what God's doing with us and Miss Judy. Do you remember when we were looking at property out there, and we master planned and we dreamed and we drew this thing out that, in this property we would have a place for women. We would have businesses set up. We would have ball fields. We even put in there, we would have an aquatic center, because back there when we were planning that, we had a number of handicapped children that were coming at the time, and we knew that kind of therapy, water therapy, would be good for them. And I mean, I could keep going on and on, even to the point of having, this has always been a dream of mine, would been to have a place for ministers, a place where if they retired or they're in trouble, that we could house them, take care of them, put them up. I mean, we're walking through this, and everything that I've got drawn, and I've got it hanging in a wall in there. I'm walking on this property, me and Diane, as he drove us around, and every bit of it was unfolding in front of our eyes. And as much as I rejoiced with them, my heart was crushed. God, why not me? Why not me? That was my promise. That was my dream. That was my vision. Anybody relate to what I'm talking to this morning? See, we don't realize that is stuff that people in here are carrying, and they're mourning and they're grieving. And we don't understand. Maybe you're seeing them one way and you don't understand why they're acting that way. It could be because they're in a place that they're really grieving and mourning over things that have been lost. Here's the third reason. Because of sin and failure. We mourn and we grieve. Anybody besides me ever failed the Lord? I mean, even over the littlest degree, my heart is messed up. Even over the littlest thing. I don't care if I get angry with somebody. I don't care if I cut somebody off, or I don't cuss. I don't know that I've ever had a cuss word come out of my mouth. Well, I have, I'm sure. Didn't know what it meant, but it came out. But I sure have had a lot of bad thoughts. But even at that, it causes us to grieve and mourn. And we live in our failures. And even though we know we've asked forgiveness and we've repented over that, it is so difficult and it is so hard. And we carry this stuff and we grieve over it and we mourn over it. And I believe that is the three reasons why. But I want to declare to you this morning, God has a way of sending comfort to us in the moment of our grieving, no matter where it may be, in the place of our mourning. That's not where God wants you to stay. But God will send comfort, come in, put his arms around you and say, hey, honey, I know where you're at. I know how to help you. I know how to comfort you. And matter of fact, he'll even cry with you. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, when Israel was in their bondage and in their difficult, God said something like this. He said, comfort ye, my people. I think there it is, says your God. Go to the next part. He said, speak comfort to Jerusalem. And cry out to her that her warfare is ended, that her iniquity has been pardoned, for she has received from the Lord's hand double for all of her sin. When is he speaking this, sir? When they're in captivity. He's speaking to this when they seem to be divided, when they seem not to be walking in the promises of God. God said, I want to send a word of comfort to Jerusalem. Notice something he said. There's a warfare that's going on. This crazy warfare, it's already started in Miss Vicky. I guarantee it has. Matter of fact, it started the other morning at the hospital. It started the moment she walked in and or got the news, and all of a sudden, what am I going to do? How am I going to make it? Where are we going to be? What is my life going to look like ahead? There's this incredible warfare that goes on. Are you okay? That goes on within us. And then notice this. Then we feel, where did I fail? You know, you don't have to do anything for a promise not to come to pass. You know, you don't have to fail anywhere. I don't have an answer for everything. I think we as Pentecostal, charismatic, word of faith, deliverance, holiness, whatever we are, we think that we got to give everybody under the sun an answer. And sometimes you don't have an answer, no more than I do. I don't know why always bad things can happen to good people, and I'm going to say it like this: good things happen to bad people. And I'm trying my best to live righteous and holy and do everything that God tells me, and I'm not getting anywhere. It's like the person can eat chocolate cake and lose weight. I can't. I don't even like chocolate cake, but it doesn't matter what I eat. Come on, you know what? We don't have answers for everything. But he said, speak comfortably. He said, speak. And then notice what God said, because he said, I know what your battle is. You think it's because of something you did. This is why I believe one of the things God said, I paid double for this. I paid overprice. I was going to have to, Tom, hang around. I'm going to have, Greg, we're going to have to talk here, son. Before you leave, I got to talk with you, because if you're going to be like Daddy and try to not pay full price for everything, God paid double. Now, you know what I'm talking about. But we have to realize that God has will to comfort us. Isaiah 51 verse 12 says this: I, even I, am he who comforts you. Matter of fact, we'll quote this passage of Scripture from Isaiah. In Isaiah 61, he says something like this. Can you turn to that one, Miss? There you go. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, proclaim liberty to the captive, and the recovery of to open of prisons to those who are bound, and to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God. Listen to this. And to comfort all who mourn. Wait a minute. Who? All who mourning. That covers every spectrum of where our struggle is and our battle is. God is our comfort, and he's our help. So how do we comfort? We're all called to it. I believe Jesus said, guys, I'm bringing comfort to you, to those disciples. And then just a few verses later, he said, now you're going to be the light of the world. You're going to be the salt of the earth. I'm calling you to do what I'm doing. We're all called to comfort. Let me help you with something. First thing, if you're going to try to help them, be careful of what you're saying. I want to tell you, in moments like this, when especially the loss of a loved one, we can say the stupidest things. I'm going to be real. Our hearts are right, but we're saying stupid stuff. Just simply because we're trying to give an answer. Kind of like, well, you know, God picks the best roses for heaven. He don't need our roses. He doesn't need things like that. Religion, I've even watched and heard of families that were being comforted in a time of a real loss, especially, let's just say, a suicidal. I want you to know, God will be with you, but your loved one's going to hell. Man, what comfort that is. We're not supposed to say stuff like that. I'm trying to help us with something because we're called. I've often found that even these words, well, you know, they're in such a better place. You know, that's true. But at the moment, that's really not what they want to hear. Because that better place for me is they're right here beside me. They're right here with me. We just need to be real. I'm not saying don't say anything, but we just need to be real cautious about what we are saying. And it's okay, church, if you don't know what to say. Sometimes you just need to show up. Let me land my jet this way. Worship team, come back. Maybe the best story to use, I want to just lay out some points for you real quick, is the story of when Lazarus died and was raised from the dead. It's found in the book of John, chapter 11. Let me just hit just a couple points, and I'm going to pray over us and let you go be with your family today. John chapter 11 starts out with something like, let me find it. It starts out with this. Now, a certain man was sick, Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. It was that Mary who anointed the Lord with fragrant oil, wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Therefore, his sister sent to him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick. Notice something in there. They reminded Jesus, the one you love has fallen sick. We need you to come. They were looking for help. They were looking for comfort. They were looking for an answer. I think if we're going to do anything in bringing comfort to people, I think the first thing that needs to be expressed is our love. It's love. And that's caring. I really believe it's compassion in action. The other morning when we got the call, we were just wasn't even really ready for the day yet, but getting ready. And Miss Vicky called and told us what had happened. And me and Diane sprang to our feet, so did Pastor Val and Miss Sherry. And we were shocked and stunned as much as anybody else. But there was one thing that really caught my attention when we came in. Miss Sherry and Pastor had gotten there before us, and we had walked in, and Miss Sherry had her arm around Miss Vicky, who is absolutely broken. And I noticed immediately Diane went to the other side and put her arm around them too, and they're all three sitting there with tears just flowing. Wasn't nothing anybody could say but just demonstrate and show love. Sometimes love just shows up. And Miss Vicky and the family has expressed that to me over and over and over the past month. Many of you showed your love. You just showed up. Some of you even called and said, you think it'd be all right if I go by? Many of you called and said, hey, Pastor, you think, could they use this? Could this happen? Whatever. And many of you showed love and demonstrated love in so many ways. I got a card up here for you, Miss Vicky, before you leave. Somebody came and said, make sure that Miss Vicky gets this card. And I know part of that is it's their love language. It's their way of demonstrating love. That's the first thing that has to happen. If we're going to bring comfort, people need to know our love. And they need to see it. You demonstrated it as a body yesterday. The people that came. You showed love. Here's the second thing. Not only did he care, did he love, but he went. He went. You know, sometimes it's just what we got to do. You just go. You don't have to stay all day. Matter of fact, I'm one of these as a pastor. When somebody's sick, they'll tell you, I didn't go and stay all day every day. I sometimes just show up. How's it going? Wasn't a lot of change. Okay, I'll see you later. and I'd slip out. Because first of all, they don't need to try to have to entertain me or you. They've got their family around them. They're trying to stay focused with their loved ones. I'm not saying it's a bad thing if you stop and hang out, but sometimes we wear out. Please hear me. We wear out our families that are struggling. So sometimes the best thing that you can do, go in for a few moments, but use some wisdom. Show you care. You showed up. You went. Here's the third thing that I think that has to happen. We cry with them. We weep with them. As the Bible said, when they hurt, we hurt. When they weep, we weep. This was the place when Jesus got there. I'm a little ahead of my story, but I'm just going to try to get through it. But when Jesus saw all of them weeping, Mary and Martha, if you'd just been here, if you would have just been here, and he sees the people mourning, and the Bible said for a moment, Jesus wept. I believe he was showing his humanity. I really believe that he was showing his connection to them, that we wept together, we cried together. And sometimes that's all we can do. There is this place, there is this moment where before that happened, that I think it was Martha said, hey, if you had have gotten here just a little bit earlier, I know this wouldn't have happened. In other words, she's really questioning Jesus. Where were you? Why didn't you move for us? I know you've been taught this, and I have too. You don't ever question God. Well, I don't know where we got that, but that's not true. You can question him all day. You may not like the answer you get. And he may not totally respond to you the way you think. I remember, I've told you this before, but I'll share it again. When my first brother passed, we had never encountered anything like that. I said one day to God, God, you don't know this one. God, keep in mind, I'm hurt, I'm broken, I'm crushed at the loss of my brother. I said, you don't know this one. Like, duh. But he never answered me a word. Not at that moment. But it was maybe a month or two later, I'm driving home from the church, a beautiful day. And I remember I was close to my house, and all of a sudden I heard the Lord speak to me. Where was Joseph? Where was Joseph? I thought, what are you talking about? I mean, it was as clear as me hearing my own voice right now. And that's all he said. But it put me on the search. Where was Joseph? When Jesus was conceived and married, the angel spoke to Joseph and said, don't be afraid to take her to be your wife. She's carrying my son, and I want you to love her. I want you to take care of her. I want you to go through with plans, and I'm even going to let you raise this one that is mine. You're going to be a stepfather. He was there at the birth. He was there at dedication at 8 days. He was there at the feast at the age of 12 years of age. When they went into town and they had done the feast and they were on their way back home, happening to forget they had left Jesus. Man, can you imagine that? I'm glad I got in my car now. I got a little thing that comes on when I close the door. Look in the back seat. Because it's telling me, don't forget your kid. And can you imagine the father, the stepfather of Jesus, leaving his own son a day's journey back? And they go back and get him. Mama's upset with him. Mama, don't you know I must be about my father's business? She grabs him by the ear and says, not today. Get in this wagon. We're going home. Somewhere between the age of 12 and 30 years of age, Joseph died. And Jesus knew what it was to have one of the closest people in his life there. Matter of fact, he carried his name many times. Oh, you're Joseph's son. You're Joseph's son. You're that carpenter's son. He carried his identity. He carried his name. He must have been getting up. Some say he was probably close to almost 30 before Joseph died. Some historians will say. But Jesus knew. See, sometimes you can question God, and it's okay. We just feel like we can't. Here's another thing. Honey, you just got to be strong now. You got to be strong for the rest of your family. Jesus didn't say that to anybody here. He just crawled in and wept with them. He just wept with them. He said, lean on my shoulder. Remember what comfort is. It's coming in, putting your arms around somebody, pulling them close, giving them a hug, and assuring them that everything is going to be all right. And here's the last thing. He spoke life. You know, as believers, Paul did tell us to comfort one another with these words. Hey, we're going to be reunited one day. We got to talk about Jesus. Jesus is going to see you through. Jesus is going to be there to help you. We got to speak words that are lifting and words that are life. He understands. He'll hold you. He'll sustain you. Yeah, there'll come a time that you can say that part a while ago. Hey, you, after all, you know he's in a better place. Man, all of us have got loved ones in heaven that one day we're going to have a reunion that we'll never have to feel that sting of death any longer. I believe that's why Paul said, oh, great. Yeah, go ahead, give Jesus a hand. That's why Paul said, oh, death, where is your sting? And grave, where is your victory? For us as believers, it don't have a hold on us. Ain't no grave gonna hold this body down. So I want to encourage you. We're all called to comfort. There's people in this room this morning. Maybe you didn't lose somebody, but you need comfort. And God's here to help you this morning. Matter of fact, we'd just like to put our arms around you. Just hold you by the Spirit of God. I know over the years I've done this. Pastor, I'm sure you guys, Pastor, you've done it. Pastor Kim, you've done it. I've prayed for people that have gone through issues. Maybe they're in a struggle. And I just felt like it wasn't even my prayer was so important as me just putting my arms around them. I said, would you mind if I just give you a hug for a moment? And that hug done something supernatural to their life. So I want you to stand with me this morning. Thank you, Lord. We're on a firm foundation. When I'm weak, He's strong. When I don't know what to do, He already knows the path. When I feel I don't have enough, He's got more than enough. So this morning, every head bowed and every eye closed for just a moment. If you're here, say, Pastor, I fall into one of those categories this morning, and I'm struggling. I'm struggling. I just want you to lift your hand. Pastor, would you pray for me? I see you over there. Thank you. I see y'all back there. Thank you. Could I have some altar workers come? I see you over there, sir. I see you. Could I have some altar workers just some people that love and care. I know that's everybody in the room, but I'm going to ask you this morning, just for a moment, especially you that lifted your hands, if you'll just come, could we love on you just for a few moments and just encourage you? Would you let us do that? All of you that lifted your hand, just step from your seat. Come. We want to show our love and our care for you. This is our way of doing it in this service this morning. Come on, you don't have to wait on anybody. Come. Maybe you didn't lift your hand a while ago. You said, Pastor, I'm really struggling. I want you to come. I want you to come. I want to come. Come on. This is your moment. I'm struggling. I need prayer. I need somebody just care for